this is not speculation. If you have prostate cancer that is spread to the bone, then he's most certainly, you were saying, had it when he was president of the United States.
Oh, yeah. He did not develop it in the last 100, 200 days. He had it while he was president.
Before, what we thought was that Joe Biden had cognitive issues and decline was being hidden. This is worse. This is way, 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 way worse. Obviously, this was a big story for everybody over the weekend. Joe Biden's issue with cancer, right? So it's a bit of rough news, obviously. So if somebody you love has cancer, that's not a good thing. But it was announced yesterday that Joe Biden has a very aggressive form of prostate cancer.
We're following the breaking news about former President Joe Biden being diagnosed with an aggressive form of prostate cancer that has metastasized in his bones. A source close to the family saying those options could potentially include a hormone treatment for the cancer. President Trump has posted well wishes to the former president and the Biden family.
I think that Al Sharpton should be paid to go and read scripts at, like making public announcements, not just on this. Like once he dies, I want AI Al Sharpton to read my obituary and just screw it completely up.
That's a great idea.
It's hilarious.
We should do that today.
We should have AI Al Sharpton reading everything.
I want him to do the audiobook for The Art of War.
Oh.
That's fantastic.
We got it. We killed Osmosis bin Laden.
Osmosis. Some of the things, listen, if you haven't seen him at his peak, go back and watch. I think we've done several segments where we've included Al Sharpton at his finest.
He's got some good
reading
reels out
the
there.
teleprompter and really screwing stuff up. But anyway, he's a national treasure, so we shouldn't make fun of him. But Trump did wish Biden well on Truth Social, saying, Melania and I are saddened to hear, I can't do the voice, so I'm sorry, guys, it's just not going to happen. Melania and I are saddened to hear about Joe Biden. I can't even do that. Recent medical diagnosis. We extend our warmest and best wishes to Jill and the family, and we wish Joe a fast and successful recovery. But actually, Biden himself was pretty stunned by the diagnosis.
Come on, man. That doesn't make any sense. I mean, Ashley checked me for that all the time.
I wouldn't have said that.
Too soon.
It's never too soon. He's not dead. He could live for a long time.
10 years, apparently.
He could.
10 years.
Apparently.
Hey, he's running in 28, so.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, don't look for that soundbite either.
It's
you can't find it.
You have to dig really hard. And look, the timing of this announcement is rather odd. We've talked about this, and there are a lot of things to get into, but let's first take you to Friday. And I saw this all over media. I was trying to take some time with the family this weekend and not pay a ton of attention, but this popped up in a lot of different feeds, and so I saw it. But this is a clip from Axios where they released part of his interview. You guys remember with Robert Hur, where he had a lot to say about Joe Biden and his mental capacity before Congress when he was testifying. Well, they released part of the audio clip from that here.
So during this time, we were living in Chambers Road, and there were documents related to the Penn Biden Center or the Biden or the cancer moonshot or your book. Where did you keep papers that related to those things that you were actively working on?
Well, I don't know. This is what, 2017, 18, that area?
Yes, sir.
Remember, in this time frame, my son is either been deployed or is dying.
What?
And so it was, what was happening though, what month did Bo die? May 30th, 2015. Was it 2015 he died?
Maybe 2015.
I think it's 2015.
I'm not sure the months are, but I think it was.
Yeah.
That's right, Mr. President.
Trump gets elected in November of 2017? 2016. All right. So, what did I have 2017 here?
That's when you left the office, January of 2017.
Okay. But that's when Trump gets sworn in then,
Right.
January.
Right, correct.
Okay, yeah. And in 2017, Bo had passed, and
So just for context, I believe that was from 2023, that interview.
I believe.
Was it 24? We'll have them tell us when that was, but either way, 2023 or 2024, he was still running for president. Still going to go and A, try to be the president, and B, try to run for a second term. That is astounding. And look, I have compassion. This is not about a father not loving his son or not remembering. Like it's not that there was an issue with just that specific person. It's the totality of it.
Well, that's why it's cognitive issues.
Yes.
Obviously, he loves his son. He's made that clear for years and years and years. Great love for his son, and you don't just forget.
No, especially
you don't just forget a day. You don't forget.
It's less than a decade later.
Ask any mother who's had a miscarriage; they can tell you the time on the clock when it happened. Obviously, it's
23. Yeah, so 2023, this is happening, and he's prepping for a run.
October 2023.
At this time, October of 2023. Oh. Wouldn't that have been nice to have? Is this the first time that this has been released? Axios got it?
The audio, yes.
The audio. And some people have said, he sat down for like 5 hours of interviews over a course of 2 or 3 times. I can't remember exactly how many times. And you guys are cherry picking some. Listen, I don't care if this is among 75 hours where he performed flawlessly the rest of the time. This is a problem.
There was a transcript that was released.
Yeah.
But
the audio is different.
It's way more damning.
Yeah.
I mean, this is insane. So that was on Friday, right? Interesting, his cognitive problems spiked. Obviously, we had a lot of questions about that on this show. Sunday, they announced the cancer diagnosis. And this is metastatic cancer, and it's advanced, and it's incurable at this stage. And this morning, Dr. Zeke Emanuel told Morning Joe that this cancer was probably not a shock to Joe Biden.
You believe it is likely, if this prostate cancer has spread to the bone, that he could have had it for up to a decade, but certainly it's likely. Would it be fair to say it's likely to have had this for at least several years?
Oh, more than several years.
Yeah,
you don't get prostate cancer.
So again, I just want to stop you.
He's having his moment right here.
This is not speculation. If you have prostate cancer that is spread to the bone, then he's most certainly, you were saying, had it when he was president of the United States.
Oh, yeah. He did not develop it in the last 100, 200 days. He had it while he was president. He probably had it at the start.
So this is part of the problem. This is why we are having the conversation right now. It's not the fact that Joe Biden has cancer and people want to dogpile, though there are trolls on the internet that want to do that. Don't let them try to take the story there. The story is, at the very least, Joe Biden had this cancer prior to deciding to run for re-election.
At the very, very least.
At the very, very least. And I'm being very generous here. We're going to get to some points about what that means in just a second here, but there's a lot of information that we don't necessarily have, and it may be for good reason that we don't have it. But let's continue to watch as Joe and Mika and their team, and look at the tone. Look at the how he's sitting and how he's taking this stuff in. And then they go to quadrant view, and look at the guy, I think, down in the bottom left-hand corner. He almost like throws his hands up like, we're effed. It's insane.
Of his presidency in 2021. Yes, that I don't think there's any disagreement about that.
And I'm just curious again, if your doctor to president of the United States that is a male, that is an older man, would a prostate test, and again we're just talking about a PSA screening, a blood test that you could do along with all the other blood tests. It's not even that it would be intrusive. Would this not be one of the first tests that you would conduct as a White House doctor?
If you're a White House doctor in this situation, I think you would certainly discuss it with the president and talk about the pros and cons. I think if you then ask, well, if President Biden says, well, if I'm your father, which patients often do, what would you recommend? I think the fact is that most White House doctors would recommend getting the test. And again, the evidence is, look at President Obama, President Bush, younger than President Biden, and they both got the test.
Both got the test, huh?
Just for pleasure, though.
Yeah. Listen, I mean, before what we thought was that Joe Biden had cognitive issues and decline was being hidden. This is worse. This is way, 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 way worse. This is potentially a president having an advanced form of cancer, potentially taking medications for that cancer. I say potentially because we don't have all the information yet, so don't go too far. And not informing the American people. And here's why that matters. Lupron is commonly prescribed to treat prostate cancer by lowering your testosterone level, which has side effects, a lot of which stay on and do not go away from Lupron, even after you stop taking it. That's what I've heard, at least. So some of those side effects are memory disorders, fatigue, diarrhea, which would explain the Vatican.
In the show open,
yeah, exactly. So a lot of those things are problems. It cause muscle issues. Like, think about lowering a testosterone. What do we typically try to lower testosterone for right now in this crazy world that we live in?
If you want to play in female sports?
Yes, and you happen to be a middling male athlete and you want to be a dominant female athlete, right? And it causes a lot of issues, and it's a problem. So Lupron does that. As one of the side effects is he's going to have memory disorders potentially. He's going to have fatigue. He's going to have physical issues. Is that you're going to have mood swings. He's going to get very angry potentially because of depression. Like, there's a lot of things that go into this that make it a really, really big deal that a president would not disclose this. You would think that this would have to be disclosed, but
not only a president not disclosing it, showing a weakness, but also running on the fact that he is fully healthy, like
totally fine
for another 4 years.
Yeah. And look, I know just last year, the president's physician, Kevin O'Connor, he swore that Biden had a clean bill of health, but we should have known when
Lock him up. Lock him up.
Lock him up.
Lock him. No, he just lied.
Well, listen, if he violated his oath, yes. Yeah, if he knew.
No, lose your license, goodbye. Yeah. Sorry.
If he knew. Now, there's a possibility that they covered it up some other way, and Joe, I don't need that. I got it taken care of before, whatever. I have no idea. But we need some transparency here. And but, listen, I don't know how. This is real, by the way. Okay? I don't know how we missed this, but this.
Good catch, whoever found that.
This makes a lot of sense in today's time, but did not make a lot of sense back then. You watch.
And because it was a 4-lane highway that was accessible, my mother drove us, and rather than us be able to walk. And guess what? The first frost, you know what was happening? You had to put on your windshield wipers to get literally the oil slick off the window. That's why I and so damn many other people I grew up have cancer. And why cancer for the longest time. Delaware had the highest cancer rate in the nation.
Can somebody just make sure? Because I know I said it's real, and I think it's real. It's real. It's real.
The White House came out and covered after, and they said, "Oh, well, he was referring. It was a gaffe. He was referring to like some melanoma or something that he had removed a long time ago." So they addressed it as being real, but then tried to downplay what was said.
It was a stutter.
And also, the president will be unavailable for the next 3 days due to some other kind of treatment.
And the defense secretary is nowhere to be seen.
Yeah. Well, jeez. Are we ever going to get answers on any of this stuff? Like, we have to get answers.
If they call the Trump administration unprofessional again, like, and anyone takes them the least bit serious,
with this,
here we go.
Yeah, exactly. We serious, guys? It's not whataboutism. It's like, listen, you don't have any moral high ground. You never did, but this should be clear to everyone right now, because back then, I did it right direction. Woo! Everyone in the leftist media was obviously covering for a declining Joe Biden.
In the end, America chose the boy who stuttered over the bully.
I have watched from the Oval Office to the Situation Room, and he has the judgment and the experience to do exactly what he has done in making very important decisions.
It is irresponsible to obsess over President Biden's tendency to mangle a couple of words in a speech, while Donald Trump is out there sounding detached from reality.
Joe Biden is better on his worst day than Donald Trump is on his best day on every issue confronting the presidency.
Start your tape right now, because I'm about to tell you the truth. And F you if you can't handle the truth.
It was just over a year ago.
Version of Biden, intellectually, analytically, is the best Biden ever.
I had no idea that Joe Biden ever suffered from a stutter. I think what we see on stage with Joe Biden, Jake, is very clearly a cognitive decline.
A cognitive decline.
Well, when you're trying to tell me that what I was suggesting was
I think that you were mocking his stutter.
mocking somebody's stutter. By the way, Jake Tapper's out there hawking his book. I'm like, we uncovered the White House hiding this mental. It was apparent for everybody to see, except for apparently the media. I know I used apparent twice in different ways, and I'm sorry for that in that same sentence. But anyway,
if she's mocking the stutter, what is a bestseller book doing?
Now! Yeah. They're all backtracking, trying to cover their butts.
This is the emperor's new clothes playing itself out in real time. Everybody knew, but everyone was afraid to say. There are people who knew and said nothing. And that is a crime against this republic.
Joe Biden totally effed us. That, a quote from a Kamala Harris official in a new book that paints a damning picture of how far the White House went to hide his decline.
Look, it was a colossal
it was on stage for everybody to see.
Mistake to have him run again for president.
That's a Democrat.
And, I think we should talk about that.
Fell in love with Pocahontas.
Party.
What we learned through our reporting is that starting in around 2019, 2020, there were two Bidens. There was a Biden that was perfectly workable, serviceable, seemed fine.
Jekyll and Hyde?
And then there was a non-functioning one. And that non-functioning Biden reared his head increasingly over and over. It really seemed to exacerbate and get much worse in 2023, 2024.
I cannot believe that this is happening right now. I feel like if you wrote this into a movie, this is like where the guy's going crazy because the world around him just doesn't make any sense.
Tapper was writing that book while he knew that something like this was going on.
He should have called the book Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hide It from the American Public.
Joe Scarborough, this day was coming. When we were playing that, Josh was kind of saying, I've been waiting for this day since seeing that clip.
Yeah, since seeing that. I watched that clip for the first time when he said, this is the best that Joe Biden's ever been. I fantasized about this day. Like, there's going to be a day where they're going to go, oh, well, shit.
But he knew. Like, here's the thing. I really do not believe, and tell me if I'm wrong. Oh, shit. He didn't quite say that, but you can tell that's
basically the face.
Inner monologue was.
It was a somber tone on that panel.
Oh man, it was
MSNBC.
It was like a funeral, and they weren't talking about a guy dying or a guy having a diagnosis of dying anytime potentially soon. He could live another 10 years. Obviously, it's sad.
It's like when your kid asks you for a cookie, and you're like, "Oh, we're all out of cookies," and then he finds the cookies. You're like, "Shit."
Thanks. Yes, I guess you can have one, but they knew. The entire time they knew it. Willful blindness, maybe. Did they lie to themselves enough to kind of say, well, we gotta keep Joe Biden in this thing so that Donald Trump doesn't become president? Maybe. But all of this stuff is coming out. These guys have a lot to answer for. The Jake Tappers of the world and the Joe Scarboroughs and the Mikas, all of these people have a lot to answer for. They knew this stuff and they didn't do anything about it. And not only that, the White House, it seems like there had to be some kind of cover-up going on to make it to where the American people couldn't know. And it's important when you're running for re-election. And it's also important when you're running for election the first time because it seems like he might have had it then, too.
It's called election transparency.
Yes.
How many
Most
times have we heard that?
transparent administration in the known universe, apparently, right now. So,
and they'll fall back on it, too. The mainstream media, they'll fall back on the fact that, oh, this isn't from us. This is from the White House.
Yes.
Hey, this isn't us. This is the White. And it's like, dude, you can't just take everything from face value. That's not your job.
You're a journalist. Your job is to dig for the truth.
The Democrats always tell us the truth, so we'll report it. But if it's anybody else, we'll be a little suspicious.
They're empty vessels. And we're just reporting what they were told to report on. That's it.
Yeah.
To be fair, they did have the most transparency in administration.
I hate you for that.
Hey, if you're still watching this, you may be one of the 6 million or so subscribers on YouTube who is, for one reason or another, I don't understand it, still here. So back in the day, I would say click one of these videos and subscribe, but really just head on over to my channel on Rumble. Follow me there. I'm live 5 days a week, 11 a.m. Eastern, and I actually say the things that I mean to say. On YouTube, it's everyone here is kind of neutered, really, and there's just a general lack of testicular energy, but I mean that in the heterosexual way. Mostly.